Hi and welcome to my video. Today's video is going to be the 6th update for my Pan That Palette project pan of 2024. For the year, I decided to pan my ColourPop's Going Coconuts eyeshadow palette. I am necessarily not trying to use up the whole palette, but more like to hit pan in every shade and basically get as much use as humanly possible out of this palette until the end of the year. In the last update, I set two goals. I wanted to use up a shade and I wanted to hit pan in a shade. And here is what the palette is looking like right now. I'm gonna pop up pictures on the screen of what this palette looked like in the introduction and what it looked like in the last update, so you can see the big changes. These two, I am so excited and so proud of myself. So let's go through the numbers. I'm also gonna swatch everything out for you since I haven't done that in quite a few months. The first shade here called Shredded, or more like not the shade but just the pan. The first pan here, Shredded, I used since the last update 9 times and I managed to use it up. It is empty, I cleaned it out. In all together, this whole project, I used it 117 times. When I introduced this palette into this project, then the shade already had pan in it, I'm pretty sure. You can see on the picture. And it took me 117 uses to use it up. This was a lid setting shade, and I already introduced a new lid setting shade into my Deck of Manning project pan, so if you watched that update, then it might have kind of been a spoiler. Oopsie! In the last update, I already knew that the shade was so close to being done and I knew it was gonna happen, so I didn't really need to push myself hard at all. It was gonna happen eventually anyways. The next shade here called Palm Reader, it is a nice inner corner shade for me. Let me swatch it out for you. Here it is. It has had pan in it for quite a long time by now. I have used it 16 times since the last update. And altogether in this project, I have used it 92 times. For the next update, I am definitely gonna have 100 uses on it, and I am so excited about it. The next shade in the first row is called Coolada. The dip has definitely got bigger in it. I hope you can see. Maybe like that you can see. It is very hard to get any sort of pigmentation from this shade. Even swatching it, I'm like scraping at the pan. That's kind of how I've been using it. I've been literally scraping at it to make it kind of into a loose shadow in a way, and then I can pick it up with a brush. See, I had to like swatch it 5 times right now just to show some pigment. I like the shade a lot. It is a nice cool toned crease shade, and you know I love me some cool tones. Coolada I used since the last update 11 times, altogether in this project 43 times. My plan for Coolada was that once I use up this shade, I'm gonna scrape some of Coolada out and repress it here and repress it looser so that it is easier to pick it up and easier to make some sort of progress. I think I'm gonna do that as soon as I'm done filming. I'm gonna scrape out all of Coolada and divide it into 2. Repress half of it into this empty pan and repress the other half back into the Coolada pan to make it easier for me to use it, because I really do actually adore this shade. Anyway, next up, in the second row, we have Lovely Bunch. Has a nice shiny pan in it. It's not a small pan. Lovely Bunch I used since the last update 10 times, altogether 62 times in this project. It took me, I think, about 5 times to hit pan in it, and then the 5 additional times were just kind of expanding the pan. Let me give you a swatch of it as well. It is a lovely warm toned crease shade, perfect for summer, perfect for actually any type of season, any weather, any day, literally. The dip in it is quite tunnely looking. I don't know how to describe it. My brush kind of goes like this into it. So it is lower on this side than it is on this side. I really haven't touched this side at all, basically. I don't know how to describe this. I hope you can see. Anyway, next up we have the shade called Cocoa Crush. which is not Cocoa Crush actually. I used up this shade a couple months ago, and this is a Franken shade in here. It is a Franken of this shade and this shade. The pan in the Franken shade has definitely expanded, and I think that for the next update I am gonna wanna use it up. Maybe I can do that. Here it is. It is a nice mid-toned shimmer shade here. It is kind of similar to the actual Cocoa Crush that was in this palette before, and the shade has come handy very often because the two shimmers that are in here, this one is only an inner corner shade for me, and this one is quite dark, so I don't feel too confident wearing this one all over my lid or on the majority of my lid. So this one has come in handy very much. I have used it 6 times all together in this project. I have used this Franken shade 20 times. Next up here we have a shade called Shelia. This one I have used since the last update 3 times, altogether 26 times. As you can tell, this is not one of my favorite shades in here. It is another crease shade, red toned kind of crease shade, which doesn't go with most of the looks that I like to do. It is also not that work appropriate. Here it is. You can see it is a little bit darker than both of these two, so it's not as versatile for me as these two are. But it does have a little dip going in it. I don't think it should be hard at all for me to hit pan in it before the end of the year. First shade in the last row is called Get Crackin'. This one I only used once altogether in this project 26 times. I used this shade the one time today because I didn't want to make this update with one shade having no uses on it for a whole month. So I kind of forced myself to use it today in a way that I don't usually use it, but hey ho, I managed to make it work. Here is what it looks like. It is a dark brown neutral matte with some silver shimmers in it. The shimmers really don't show when you actually put it on your eyelid and blend it out. Next up we have a shade here in the middle called the Cocoa. This one I used twice altogether in this project. I have used it 19 times. This one I like to have in the middle of my lid when this one is in the inner side of my lid, but I don't always wear them both together. Let me swatch that one for you as well. Oh, that was a horrible swatch. Here it is. You can see that it is quite dark and not as metallic and shimmery as I would like it to be, but we make it work. For the next update, I'm gonna make this one a focus shadow, and since I like pairing these two a lot together, I think this one is gonna get a lot more uses on it as well. Definitely not gonna hit pan on it yet. And the last shade in the palette is called Nutty. It is a dark matte brown, kind of cool leaning. This one I like using in my outer corner or as a liner. Here it is. You can see that it is a lot darker than anything else in this palette. Definitely no pan anytime soon. The bottom row is definitely my struggle shades. The top ones I really don't have to put that much effort into to use those ones. So there you go. This is what the palette is looking like. Obviously I couldn't swatch the very first shade that I already used up, but yeah. For the next update, as I already mentioned, I want to use up the Franken shade that is in the pan called Cocoa Crush and get a lot more uses on the Cocoa as well, since I use those two together a lot. Also, I'm gonna repress Coolada and divide it into 2 pans. We'll see how that one works out. I hope it's gonna make using that shade a lot easier. At this point, I am not sure if I wanna keep using it in the next year as well, because why I chose this palette basically is because it is so neutral and so everyday wearable that it shouldn't be hard for me at all to wear it, and that is true. That is why I chose it. I didn't use eyeshadow every day at all. I used to only wear eyeshadow when I went out to like a party or something, and I really hoped that this palette would push me to wear eyeshadow every day, to work, to grocery shopping, whatever I have planned for the day, and it has done it. So it has served its purpose, and I think Maybe I want to move to a different palette after the year is done. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe I want to keep going with this one. The reason why I don't think I want to keep working on this one is because it's just a cheap ColourPop palette. I have way more nicer palettes, way more expensive palettes that I enjoy way more in my collection. I have Natasha Denona, I have Anastasia Beverly Hills, I have Urban Decay, I have brands like that I think I should be prioritizing over ColourPop, because everything is gonna go bad in my collection eventually. And I don't know if focusing on this ColourPop palette for 2 years in a row is just gonna be a waste of time and a waste of kind of energy put in the wrong place, I guess. Maybe if you have any ideas or any advice for me, you can leave it down into the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. Any tips and tricks are absolutely welcome. But I think that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing as well. Thank you so much, and bye bye!